Hey, all you cool cats and kittens. It's all you can hear.
I already want to vomit.
Oh, damn it.
I would be remiss if I didn't. And that should be your hint to what we'll be talking about today. This is Non-Canon Files number 24, and we'll be discussing The Tiger King. I'll be your host today, Patrick. And joining me today are my two physical co-hosts and one digital co-host. But starting with my right, who do we have?
You have Jonathan.
It's Carnivorous Cannon in the house.
And joining us from across the internet through the Matrix, who do we have?
I'm broke as shit. It's Cody. Quarantine Cody still.
Oh, damn it. I should have went with that one. That was actually better. Shit.
We have so many options when it comes to C sounds in the English alphabet. You have C's, you have K's, and you have Q's. So, Cannon, I can't help that you fucked that up.
Yeah, well, I was going to say we win, but on that note, fuck you, Cody. No. No, just kidding. Thank you.
And today we'll be just going through, discussing the Tiger King, just like the crazy fucked up ride that this docu-series was. And just getting this right out of the way, this will be completely spoiler-filled. We'll be talking about every single aspect of Tiger King. If by some chance you haven't seen it already, please devote about 7 hours of your time to go and experience. Because experience is the only way you can take this, and it is an experience. Go and experience this series, then come back and watch this, because this is the zeitgeist. This is what every single person in America and probably the world has been consumed in some form. So we'll be talking a good bit in detail about all the events that happened in the docuseries Tiger King.
I mean, come on, people. It's been 2 weeks. You're locked up in your house. You're not doing fuck all right now. Watch this show. It is a complete banana sandwich. It is amazing.
You could totally get like a 30-day subscription to Netflix for free just to watch Tiger King, and I would not blame you.
Exactly.
And I kind of wanted to talk about like how we all kind of fell down this sordid rabbit hole, because I remember I watched it probably the first in the house, and then I watched the first 2 episodes, and I told Liz and Cannon, and then they ended up binging a good bit, and then Jonathan jumped in, and then when did you start it, Cody?
I really don't know. I think it was the day that Jonathan started, except at nighttime. So Jonathan was finishing while I was starting.
Yeah, because Pat came into our kitchen one day, and he was like, yeah, I've been watching this show called Tiger King, and it's fucking crazy. I was like, okay, I didn't think anything of it. And then, Cannon was talking about it, and I was like, okay, I'll have to give this give it a look. And then, after I'd watched it and kind of just stared into the abyss at how fucking insane this thing was, the internet just fucking blew up about Tiger King.
Yeah, I was at work. We were having a meeting to discuss what we were going to do about the whole COVID-19 situation. And my general manager just comes up to me and goes, hey, man, before you have to cancel your Netflix subscription because you're going to be broke, you need to watch Tiger King. And I was like, what the fuck is Tiger King? And his description, as crazy as it was, didn't do it justice. And then I kept seeing the memes, and Pat, he was the first one in the house to start watching it. And I was like, okay, Liz and I, we're going to go down this rabbit hole. And Tiger King is the reason why my sleep schedule is just fucked right now, because I was up until the sun came out watching this shit. It was bonkers.
Yeah, I didn't stop. Once I started, it was just like, I can't stop. And it was so engrossing. The documentary itself, I'm a big fan of documentaries to begin with, but just the styling and how the guy... I don't know, I say the guy, but the team created this. It was a beautiful documentary. It was so good. It was so well laid out, and it unraveled the story at such a great pace. And
for sure,
looking back, going into it and watching each episode, really you start how it unfolds. But when you think back about how it actually unfolded and how everything started kind of coming up, I don't know. It was just... I had never experienced anything like that when it comes to a document. I wish, those old History Channel biblical documentaries? I need Tiger King to get on that, the Tiger King people to get on that and make it interesting. I need Jesus to have some tigers wrangled.
Well, unfortunately, Easter is canceled this year, so Jesus can't do anything about it.
Yeah, his resurrection got cut off, so maybe next year.
He's quarantined himself.
He's like, I died for your sins, not for your germs.
Now he wishes he really did keep that fucking cave door. They kept that cave door closed. Honestly,
just
Fuck,
leave
this
me
thing's
dead,
heavy.
goddammit. Or dad damn it.
me damn it.
It's like Cody said, how this documentary evolved, because I remember in the beginning, I think it was originally going to be about reptiles, and then this guy shows up with a fucking, a snow leopard in his van, and like 1,000 degrees outside. It's like, wait, what? And then that's where it starts.
Because it's like, oh yeah, it's fine. You know, he's acclimated to Florida heat, would just sound like a big fib to me.
Yeah.
And because watching the first episode, it's like, okay, this is wild and this is kind of weird. Everybody's kind of trashy and whatever. And then like episode 2 hits you like a sack of bricks, and then it's just only from there it just like builds and builds and builds. And there's like all these big like wham moments throughout the series. Yeah. And like we'll get to those in time, but like it's just sort of like a steady sort of gut punch throughout, and it's just with increasing intensity.
Yeah, but the thing about like all the reveals, they don't really dwell on them too much. They kind of just nonchalantly drop them.
They can't dwell on them. They've got so much shit to pack in that it's just like.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really well-paced documentary, but similar to Joe Exotic himself, it is a little all over the place, and that's one of the things I love about it. But yeah, there's one reveal in particular. There was this one guy we'll get to. I was kind of on his side. It was like, okay, this guy seems like the most sane person. and then they drop this one little nugget. I'm like, okay, what? And then they go into his story a little bit. And it's like, oh, shit, this guy is probably the most sinister of them all.
Oh, yep.
But this is speaking about episode 1, and the documentary host and the whole thing on reptiles, this kind of brought up two things in my mind. Number one, that documentary host kind of just faded to the background. After the second episode, I think I saw him one time throughout the entire series, and
yeah, he didn't really show up until about the end, and even then he was just like you said, he was in the background. But even like shows like Making a Murderer, like the actual documentarians are not necessarily a part of it. Yeah, but it
seemed like this guy wanted to be up front at the beginning, but then all of a sudden he's just like gone. And it makes you wonder if like he at some point was just like, maybe we should just fade to the background here, because we don't know anything about this guy really other than a few snippets at the beginning with him dealing with reptiles. And that kind of brings up my second point of, I really want to fucking know about the reptile world now, because if they thought, oh, reptiles are really interesting, let's go there, but then they had to veer off to go to tigers, I want to know what's in the reptile world and see what's going on.
Like the Reptile King, and plus like you have the three, I guess, tent poles of the series. You have Joe Exotic, the owner and the principal character of the docu-series. He owns the zoo. You have Doc Anton, who owns his zoo, and was it in West Virginia?
No, I think this was in
Myrtle Beach.
South Carolina.
South Carolina is Myrtle Beach.
South Carolina, and then you have Carol Baskins, and also in Florida, and it is sort of funny how he jumped between these three perspectives in the first part, and it's sort of like Joe Exotic's like animosity towards Carol Baskin. Carol Baskin's sort of weird, sort of ethereal, like
eccentric bohemian hippie girl,
and then you have Doc Anton, who's sort of like this, like I guess, very affluent, like zookeeper who has like
and cult leader
as we'll find out.
Sex cult leader,
because like he seemed pretty stable, and at least Carol Baskins until like the third episode, she's a little like granola girl, but otherwise seems pretty fine. And like Joe Exotic just like this wild, frazzled character. It's just like the weird intrigue that just sort of builds out of this. It's just it's unreal.
Because when you think one of the characters is like even remotely on the level, the next episode's like, haha, fuck you, this person's insane too.
It's like, bitch, you thought.
Like by the end of the show, when the most sane character is like this evil drug dealer, this like fucking Scarface level guy, it's like, this is the level of crazy we're dealing with.
I also want to know how true it is if he was the basis for the remake of Scarface, the Al Pacino Scarface, because...
Oh, yeah, I forgot that is a remake.
Yeah, I know a lot of people... I forget it from time to time, too.
I mean, the original movie came out in the 30s. It doesn't exist.
Yeah, it's not real.
Yeah, I don't watch movies that are in black and white, sorry.
You haven't seen Clerks? All right, we're getting off track here.
We'll get to Kevin Smith another time. I guess we can just go through the episode because, like, we touched on episode 1. Episode 2 is where things really start to get kind of kooky crazy because we kind of get touched on the just the overall world of exotic animal ownership, which just seems kind of leery in itself. Because you can just, like, if you have enough money, you can buy any exotic animal. Because Joe himself said he bought, like, a mountain lion at a pet store for, like, what, $400?
Yeah,
something absurd. And then it's that sort of spins into the distribution of like exotic animals and big cats. It's just like, it seems like, okay, this is Phil Seedy, and then we meet the one guy in, I guess he's a little up north where he has, like, he's the guy with the monkey. He always has a monkey with him, and how his fledgling thing, and how he in contact with Joe, with Doc, and sort of like learning from them. Is like, I'm gonna build my old animal farm. And then we get to like a very harrowing portion of episode 2, which is the Zanesville, Ohio incident, which is where a private animal owner loses pretty much his entire collection of animals into the town, and then he commits suicide. And then the local police are forced to sort of
just
destroy all the animals.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I know we talked about. I know we're gonna get to probably this later, the music videos and stuff like that. But hey, there's actually a music video. I don't know if you guys looked at the playlist on Joe Exotic's YouTube page, but there's actually a video of, like, it's almost like a, I don't know, like a really weird homage to those tigers, where it's just a movie clip slideshow of all the tigers dead, the guy who set them loose, and especially like anti-cop rhetoric about hating on the cop who allowed for the tigers to get shot down. And it's literally just a video on YouTube out there of a slideshow of tigers bloody and dead on the ground, and it is really fucked up to some really like sad music.
Gross.
That I think is a Joe Exotic exclusive sound. So
in the arms
it honestly
angels.
felt like it was like it shouldn't. I felt like I was on that weird space of YouTube, and I don't know. It felt very uncomfortable at times.
Yeah, where it's not necessarily like, I don't like, it can get gory, but it's definitely like uncanny and
it was very uncanny and unsettling because it was just like it felt like. I mean, I know it's hard to put one thing to another, but do you know those weird radical videos of right-wing extremists who post these weird 9/11 type videos where and like having like Obama as a devil and stuff? It was like that, but for the tiger world, and it was very weird.
So we're talking about like bloody and gross. We didn't even touch on the first thing that happens in episode 2.
What was that?
Arms getting detached from bodies.
Yeah, when Saf, the caretaker, gets his arm ripped off, which is something we should point out.
Yeah.
That Saf is a trans man and he was misgendered throughout that documentary. That's something just keep in mind when you're talking about him.
Like, still is, and like every video that I've watched regarding Tiger King so far, it's been the same.
Yeah, it's like, this lesbian gets her arm ripped off. No, Saf is a trans man.
That's wild that's wild. I mean, I don't blame the people. I blame the people in the documentary more than anything. Because, those videos that come after the documentary, or those, pieces of media that came after, are only just mimicking what they saw in the video. But the fact that the documentary people did that, but also later on in the show, apparently there's a lot of racism that Joe Exotic portrays throughout his entire zeitgeist of himself.
Well, there's definitely a bit that came out as people were talking about how he had some diatribe on one of his shows about he couldn't use the N-word basically, and it's kind of like, okay, that's definitely troublesome.
Well, not only that, but do you know that famous video that I quoted earlier of the "I'm broke as shit" and all that information? Apparently, deep in there in that video, I don't know if it's a cut audio piece or if it's a piece of audio that just got edited out of most things, but he actually does say something really racist. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was like, ooh, that's even worse than the I can't say the N-word thing. It was very in the realm of white pride. So yeah.
I'm not surprised though.
I'm not surprised either.
If we're being 100%,
because to me this is Joe Exotic could literally be down the road from us, and I'll get into it later. But to me, this feels like S-Town. Did y'all ever listen to S-Town?
I listened to this.
I tried, but I just could not because it just hit way too close to home, literally and figuratively.
And Cody, do you want to just like a brief aside of what S-Town is? Because I don't think Cannon's listened to it.
So
Yeah, I don't
S-Town
know
was a
what this
podcast
is.
that came out in about 2017, I believe, at the beginning of 2017, late 2016. And it was a serial podcast done by a reporter from NPR, I believe. I think he was actually
Yes.
And it was supposed to be, he was trying to look for something to do with crime and things like that. And he had been doing a podcast about crime. I can't remember what. And he had got this email from this old guy who kept saying, there's corruption in my small town, and he would just ignore it. And he kind of became like pseudo in kind of like contact with this guy, this older man. And the reporter one day gets an email saying, hey, here's proof that my town's corrupt. And apparently he sends him an article based on 2 police officers who were jailed. They were jailed due to whatever reason that may be. I think it was due to the fact that they were allowing female, allegedly.
They covered up a sexual assault that a other police officer did.
Yeah, I
didn't
believe
they?
that's what was supposedly allegedly happening. Anyways, this
allegedly,
was in Bibb County, Alabama, West Blockton, Alabama, to be exact, and
It was in Woodstock.
Yeah, it was in Woodstock. I worked in
It was
Woodstock for years.
which, for those who don't know, are about 40 minutes away from where we live in Tuscaloosa. So.
Not
shit.
even.
Yeah.
It's like Pat, that was just like down the street from him, and it was like maybe 20 minutes for us.
Yeah, like
15
it
if
was
that.
really close by, and it's just insane how that happened. And like it's the same way with the Tiger King story. Like even though this took place in Ohio, it's just like this whole sort of affair happened just within the last couple of years that we're finding out about it.
Oklahoma, yeah.
Oh, excuse me, Oklahoma. And it's just like the old saying goes, truth is stranger than fiction. And there's not a writer alive who could just pin this whole story from the top of their head. Like nothing about this makes any sense and how it could happen, but it's reality.
And I mean, if you were to try to sell this to like any sort of studio exec, they would laugh
It sounds like
at
a
you.
fanfic.
And now they're going
It
to laugh
sounds
all the way to
crazy
the
as
bank
shit.
with it.
What was that?
If they do make a show, they're going to be laughing all the way to the fucking bank now.
Now,
Yeah.
I would say that the reason why I brought up S-Town was because the old guy who kept emailing the reporter and being like, these people are crazy, these people are nuts, that dude was hella eccentric and he was super eccentric. He was a gay man, and he had a very similar personality, in my opinion, to Joe Exotic. He wasn't a bad guy, but he was really, really, I don't know how to describe it. You have to listen.
The difference between the guy from S-Town and Joe Exotic, though, was the guy from S-Town was like genius level intelligent, whereas like Joe Exotic he's not a very bright guy,
Jonathan,
if we're
I
being
think
honest.
Joe Exotic is a lot brighter than people expect. Just because,
I mean, yeah, definitely, but like.
He definitely has I get like a good intuitive sense about how to like promote himself and to like ingratiate himself with people, and that takes a certain level of skill and sort of like I guess social awareness. But in terms of just like actual I guess facts and intelligence, that's definitely a different body and a different capability. I don't think he quite had, especially when he was running for his political offices, president and then the governor, and that sort of he was just sort of like going off and doing his show, and then his campaign manager sort of just left to wrangle this whole party together.
who was a manager at Walmart prior to being his campaign manager, which
Yeah, and he was just like,
In the gun department.
which like the guy kind of looks like this white collar like suburbs type of dude. And then I remember there was this one point where he's like, I'm a libertarian, so fuck the feds. I'm like, oh god damn it.
But what's so crazy is that the reason why he was so enamored with Joe Exotic because his campaign manager was a gay man, and he looked up to Joe Exotic for being like an openly gay man in their town, which is like obviously a very very like rural and probably red state. So like I guess that makes sense in a certain way, but then like when we know everything that we know about Joe now, it's kind of like, is the bar really so low for heroes? But that's who you look up to? But I don't know.
Well, I mean, we did, and like a lot of this stuff didn't come out till the documentary. Though.
So he may not have known all the skeletons in Joe's closet. Yeah. That is true.
I think there's it's also small town where I guess there's nothing else to look up to. Like Joe Exotic is the most interesting person in the goddamn state of Oklahoma at that point. So like, or in the Midwest, like for that portion of the Midwest, So I mean, Oklahoma City has one tall building. I don't know if it actually does or not, but Oklahoma City always looks like it has one tall building, and it's like a eight floor Capitol building. And so, I don't know, like. To me, that just Joe Exotic is the little piece of pepper in a big old thing of Campbell's. I don't know. It's soup. It's just he was just an interesting character that people. I mean, you couldn't help but watch because he was just this bright and shining person in the middle of these podunk. Like, I mean, not saying they're less than people, but they're just people who are just normal people living their lives and trying not to deal with anything crazy. And then you have this one crazy motherfucker who's out in the middle of a field taming some tigers and doing meth, so
handing out condoms with his face on it.
Look at Joe and be like, and that kind of rhetoric. Whenever we see later on, when you see the townsfolk speaking about Joe Exotic and his campaign, and like, hey, do you think Joe Exotic has a chance of winning? And they're like, hell, he's better than what we have in office now. And it's just like, that's what they're looking at. They're saying, how interesting and how, I don't know, I don't want to say powerful, but how, like, persuasive, charismatic.
How much a character will carry someone, because like he won 19% of the Libertarian vote when he ran for governor.
That is absolutely fucking insane. I don't know. Like Joe Exotic, and even to me, even to our group and everything, obviously we play around and we're like, hell yeah, Team Joe. But the truth is that like these are awful people. These are just bad people. And like Joe is just one of those types of people where obviously the documentary tries to make you feel sad for, but because I think the documentarians want more, him to get out so they can make a new documentary of him, to make more money.
A sequel.
But at the same time, like there's something about his character, his charisma that's just like, you kind of want to rally around in a way.
It's this intangible quality that makes his presence very infectious.
I don't know, that's scary to me. I don't like the fact that basically Joe Exotic could be our president right now in another dimension, and I'm supporting him.
I mean, at this point, might as well.
Gosh. And just speaking of bad characters, I do want to get into discussion of like between the big three, Joe Exotic, Doc Antle, and Carol Baskins. I just sort of like, since we talked a little bit about Joe, we talked about the other two, so like how they play into like the story and the corruption, because Carol gets a whole episode unto herself, because we said, she seems to just like hippy dippy granola gore, a little spacey, but like otherwise fine. And then the third episode is about her. And it's like sort of like how Joe sort of keeps bringing up this sort of rivalry, this sort of like animosity with her, and like the whole episode is very true crime-ish, where it sort of really focuses on how her husband, who she got a lot of her money from to start her wildlife rescue sanctuary, is sort of clouded in like macabre and mystery because her husband disappeared, and she sort of got all of his money once he was declared legally dead. And then sort of like the whole mystery is like, did she kill her husband?
And I think because her episode's like episode 3, right?
Yes.
And so they kind of drop that nugget that it's like, oh yeah, she might have killed her husband at the end of the second episode, I think. And then it's like, okay, what? And then the entire episode is just about like her life and mostly centered around her relationship with her, was that her second husband?
Her billionaire husband was her first husband, because Howard is her third. There's a second husband we will talk about in a bit, who wasn't mentioned in the documentary.
Wait, well, she was married before the...
Yeah, she was married before.
Well, excuse me. I guess,
believe so.
I guess after the husband that talked about the documentary disappears, she had an interim husband between the one we see in the documentary, Howard. So Howard would be technically her fourth husband.
No.
Oh, wow.
I remember it as she had one husband she married whenever she was young and had, I think she had her daughter, maybe.
So she had a child.
And he
with,
was like hella
Then
abusive.
she married the millionaire.
Yeah.
And then after he poofed, she married the dude that's in the documentary now, who honestly looks super out of place throughout the whole damn thing.
Yeah, he's very henpecked. But no, I was doing some research into like just sort of like some expanded information about the show. She did, before she married Howard, she did have another husband. And once we talk more about, I guess, what went on with the first one, I can get into the second, that interim husband. But the whole thing is like her husband sort of left his family for Carol when she was 19 years old. He was like 40s maybe, and he was a self-made millionaire. And then he saw her walking on the side of the road after she left her, like she ran away from home. And then so they sort of got together and sort of like started this life together. They both had a mutual appreciation for animals, and that sort of built from there into like this wildlife sanctuary. And then what the spooky part comes in is that her husband starts saying really unusual, strange things, like he's going to leave, like because he's going out of the country to acquire these cats for his sort of operation, because he was sort of like, hey, had this cat, pet it, we'll sell tickets. And then over time, she starts to change her tune about how these wild animals should be presented. Like not for like pay and visit. And then they start to get into a big argument, and that's when things start to get really murky. There's like some evidence that is that he got on a plane and he left to go to like Costa Rica somewhere. Some say but whatever the case, he just disappears. There's no concrete proof saying what happened to him or where he went. It's just there's a lot of evidence that kind of points toward she got rid of her husband for the money.
Wasn't there a point in the documentary where excuse me, where the husband, the one that disappeared, tried to file a restraining order against her?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, but like there wasn't enough evidence to really file that restraining order.
Yeah, there's definitely not enough evidence for it now. Ew.
Whoop.
Because he was talking about how like she's very aggressive and dangerous towards him, and once he disappears, there's a lot of weird waiting period. He's declared legally dead, so he sort of gets all of his assets and sort of.
Well, first she changes the will to where it's
in the event of his disappearance, not
death or disappearance, which the lawyer they interviewed, which I think was his lawyer.
Yeah, it was his lawyer.
He said, like, in all my years of professional experience, that never has happened. I've never seen that happen. He's like, why do you plan on someone disappearing,
There's all these different rumors that maybe she fed him to tigers, or did she bury him underneath the septic tank at her sanctuary.
He's under the septic tank.
Because Joe Exotic really takes in this narrative that she killed her husband. He runs with it, and he's just obsessive with sort of like attacking her because they have this animosity because she doesn't believe these wildcats should be sort of like pay for play, and that they're just for like just live out their existence in these sort of sanctuaries until they expire, and then they're sort of like not to be sort of like passed around as sort of like these like commodities or for like toys for viewership.
Yeah, but the big issue I have with Carol Baskin, though, is like, yeah, that's an admirable, goal, but like, she's not making any effort to like all the shots they showed, and this could just be the documentarians being very selective with their footage, but like all the cages and stuff they showed from Carol's place was, I don't know, to me much more
dog shit
than Joe's. And I mean, Joe's wasn't great,
Joe's purpose of his sanctuary was to show off the cats, while hers is to just
and profit off of it.
Is to cage them away from everything. So I was reading.
Yeah, but I mean, she was profiting off of it too.
But the thing is, though, is that like they made it seem like she was always profiting off of it. But the thing, I looked into it a little bit, and I don't think that the events where she brought in a bunch of people to come and look for the cats and look at the cats was every single weekend. Now, I'm not saying that she was a good person by doing this, but I don't know how much of that money went to the sanctuary and how much of it went to actual profits or whatever. We don't know. They never spoke about the money or numbers. However, I don't think it was very often. I think it was very very, very few times, and they only let them travel on the safe spaces. But the thing is, though, is that, like, my understanding of how her plots of land work are the cages are surrounding the giant plots of land while the tigers roam throughout that entire giant plot of land. It's kind of like a cow pasture in a way, but for tigers. That way that they can have as much room as they can have in that environment. Right.
Yeah,
And that's the
to
reason
kind of
why
run
you really
around
didn't
and
see any
do their
tigers
tiger
in the
shit.
documentary is because they're out in the fucking woods on her property. And
Yeah, well, and that one thing I was saying earlier, I think that was the document. I think it shows the bias of the documentarians because they really focus on that little area where they have the bowl that's in the smaller cage where they stick their head in. And it's like, this is really fucking cruel. But
the thing is, though, is that, like, that's such a specific thing. Why would she do it that way? And that makes me think, like, maybe there is a specific way that she knows about through her own research and through working with other conservationists to understand why she's doing it. I don't know why she's doing it. Why would, out of all the things that she could do, why would she just put their little heads into that small space for food? And I don't know the reason. Maybe there is a better reason for that, but I don't think, like, if she was making money off these animals, she wouldn't do that to just show people how cruel she could be. Like, there's a specific reason for those little holes, and you know what I'm saying? Like, there's too many small little things of, don't get me wrong, like, and the thing is that, like, it makes much more sense to me that a space that runs off of donations, that runs off of very sparse weekend tickets, would be more ratty. Like, if you ever seen a nonprofit or a conservationist area, like, they're not making that much money, and I don't know how much they're making, but it goes, the quality, the money gets split between certain things, and so, like, obviously her facility is going to look a little bit more run down, a little bit more ratty, because her money is the money is going towards feeding the animals, making sure they're okay, and also the visual aspects of the animals are going to be on the lesser end of things. I have the consensus right now on the internet is that Carol Baskin killed her fucking husband.
Yeah, and I don't think I've really met anyone who thinks otherwise.
The only
I'm lying. I think he killed him.
Oh!
I was about to say, I was like,
it's just like, I don't know. There was just something just off and eerie about her during the whole show, like her body language, the way her eyes moved, like her weird laugh.
It was definitely, like, very fake.
It seems very detached.
Yeah, like, and her eyes were just like dead eyes.
Like, even during the disappearance of her former husband, like, she just didn't really show emotion.
Cool, because that's something interesting, because they interviewed that husband's family, like his wife and his daughters, and it's been 20 years since he's gone missing, something like that, and even after all that time, they're still emotionally affected by it. Right. Of course, they have other layers because their family, he abandoned them for her, Carol,
but and he had a fuck ton of money,
and but even then, even talking about the disappearance, they still showed some sort of reaction to it. And Carol just sort of seemed kind of blithe about the whole thing, which is that definitely seems a bit odd to me. It's like, if they can have a reaction, why doesn't she? And just going on, like, I guess the consensus of Carol's guilt, from what I've seen a lot of people saying she's not a good person. She's, like, definitely hypocritical. She's definitely exploitative. Like, the way she treats her volunteers definitely seems very sketchy. But to me, what I've seen the biggest pushback on Carol's side is that people are definitely sort of rallying behind that she was groomed by her first husband. She was like 19 and he was middle aged, and so, like, she was sort of like in an unequal relationship with her first husband, and people sort of like, hey, she was abused and groomed, and therefore they're a little more sympathetic to her case. Of course, like, there's definitely people who sort of take her as, like, the worst of the three, which I don't believe.
I definitely don't think she's the worst of the three. And like, I will agree, there was a lot more sympathy for her than, I think, for me anyway, that more than most people. But, like, at the same time, like, I mean, an abusive background and stuff like that, that's good to understand, and sympathize and maybe even empathize with that person, but their actions aren't always justified.
Like, just because they have like a genuine like plight and an abusive background, that doesn't excuse anything that happens that they do later in life that's bad. Like, you can't write off someone killing or exploiting people just because they were possibly sexually groomed or abused earlier in their life. That doesn't. You can't just like write that off.
Yeah.
Having flashbacks to the New Jack episode right now. Fuck you, New Jack. I know you're not listening, but fuck you.
Bringing up that interim husband between her first and her third, what makes sort of like her story maybe more cryptic and sinister is that her second husband, he also filed restraining orders against Carol about she was abusive, she was he felt unsafe, and even her own daughter warned that interim husband about her. And then he was saying things like, well, what happens when your first husband comes back? Well, dead men don't talk. And then there was another thing where human remains were found at a Holiday Inn nearby. When that was sort of mentioned in conversation to Carol, she said, I hope that doesn't come back on me.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a lot of woo oogie boogie stuff surrounding Carol.
Yeah. And even if it's not, I mean, that definitely is not a good, like, unlike Joe, who is this really charismatic and is able to get you on her side. I think like part of the reason why everyone had such a visceral reaction to Carol Baskin was of how uncharismatic she was, and just how like we've been saying, she's just like uncomfortable, unsettling, just like a crazy cat lady on steroids. Like you just, I don't know, like it was. I would not want to be in a room alone with her. Whereas like,
to me,
God no.
I wouldn't say I would want to have like a drink with Joe, because Joe is an awful person too. But he's definitely more.
He has a quality about him that can make you forget some of his imperfections and like bad behavior.
Yeah, if only for a little bit.
And I think now that we talked about Carol, I think we need to talk about Doc Antle, who seemed to get like an insufficient amount of time or unproportional amount of time devoted to him, because he's possibly one of the most devious people in the entire show.
Out of the three, in my opinion, he's the worst.
I agree with that one as well.
Because Doc Antle was this man who owns obviously the most upscale animal habitat in the show, and he has like all these big animals, cats, like lions and tigers and bears and like elephants and whatnot. And so like he lends out his animals to like many Hollywood productions, like they said, Ace Ventura, like Britney Spears, like all these big shows. But what makes his sort of thing very like unnerving is that his staff is like mostly young women, like dressed in like very like sexually revealing like outfits, and this is this weird like power play that he has over them, so like exploiting their like affection for animals, like not paying them well, and sort of just like has this weird like domineering aura about the entire place.
AKA he's running a fucking sex cult, basically.
Yeah. Like forcing, well, I guess forcing, not really, but like...
Well, I mean, he's definitely, I can't think of the word, but I mean, it's more or less like kind of strong-arming them into it.
Like he made someone get breast implants.
Because in the show, we were met with like a former employee of his sort of group, and
Barbara Fisher. That was her name.
And she's sort of like, she's obviously very cared deeply about these animals, but then when she started to realize that I felt I was cut off from all the people in my life, even her father who drove her there is like, yeah, this guy's kind of sketchy. See you later. And he just drops her off to live there.
Well,
and
not even that. He like her dad wasn't like hey.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like trying to talk, and you guys kept talking. I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
You can't hear me
Yeah.
anymore.
I like.
So Pat, you may have to go in and do a little bit of editing in there.
Yeah, we stopped. I stopped hearing you after, or when we started talking about Doc Antle.
Yeah, you've been quiet for a while.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to tell you about Carol Baskin. I was like, yeah, there's some shit, and I was like, wait, they can't hear me. Give me 1 second. You're still recording, right?
Yeah, we're still recording.
Okay. So Pat, there may be some things you need to go back and edit. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. He's like we were talking a little bit, so we're going to backtrack a bit. So Cody, you can make your point about Carol.
Yeah, so Carol, so we were talking, you guys were talking about how, like, you know, the abuse and stuff has led her to this this life of murder that could lead to a life of murder is inexcusable. And I agree completely that nothing excuses murdering and all that nature. But I think one thing that people are forgetting is that she was dirt poor for all of her life.
Yeah.
She was backwoods, dirt poor person all of her life. She, you know, grew up poor. They talk about her growing up poor. She grew up. She then married into a poor family. Her husband was poor. They were just dirt poor. And all of a sudden, she meets this man on this. I forgot what avenue she called it, but after doing some research, I found out the street that she was found on is a popular prostitution street, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh.
It was heavily implied that the rich husband was, you know, scoping for.
He was out looking.
Yeah.
Because they said in the documentary that husband from his previous family had a wandering eye, so like he wasn't a great person either.
And like in that documentary, that recreation, like didn't she like go to a hotel with him like that same night when he found her?
Yeah.
Yeah, and like he was like holding me at gunpoint.
Yeah.
He's like, I just need someone to talk to.
With my dick.
So this relationship was toxic from the beginning.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But no, yeah. So that was one of the interesting things that I found out was just like that street that she was on I think it was in Tampa, or near Tampa, is known to be a heavy prostitution street. And she said she got in a fight with her husband, was walking down the street, and then got picked up by him. And I don't know, like I'm not saying. I mean, like if I'm Carol Baskin and I'm fucking crazy and I am unhinged, which she kind of comes off as at times.
Yeah.
And I have this prerogative to keep these animals safe, or I have this idea. And here's my thing. I don't think she's abusing the animals. I just don't. I think that the documentary skewed it to look like she was equal parts, but like I said before, it's hard that there's a lot to that. Like, I just don't think she was abusing the animals. I think the animals came first, and I still think the animals do come first in her life. However, I think she I don't know if she killed him or if she had anything to do with that, but I definitely think that like that mentality of I can't go back to poverty, I can't let this to happen to me, is a driving force behind someone enough to let them commit murder or you know. Like,
yeah.
Money is to me. Money is the driving force in that, like the main driving force in the murder.
Yeah.
Not the because
even if it's it's also about the tigers, but it's for the money to provide for the tigers.
Yeah, so I don't think she was abusing the tigers at all. I don't know if that to be true, but in my personal, from what I think that she is the least of the evils when it comes to these tigers. I think that most of the tigers that Joe Exotic had, I don't know if they were being fed properly.
Oh no, they weren't.
No.
You know, gasses them. Doc Antle is another interesting character. But
yeah,
who keeps women in horse pens?
God, that like we were saying earlier, like in my opinion, he's the worst of the three.
Yeah.
Just because of how fucking, and I mean, he always kind of had that weird slimy quality about him. But like I you know, like when they first show him, it was like I was saying earlier, like he seems like the most sane, and then they just casually drop the nugget. It's like, oh yeah, he has like 14 wives, and I was like, okay, hold up, something's amiss here. And then it was like, yeah, he's running a fucking sex cult,
and how like he works, he's kind of like. He's doing this thing, sort of like this weird passive-aggressive thing where it's like no one really takes time off. It's like, well, yeah, you can take time off, but, you know, the tigers will still be here. They'll still need help. And sort of like this guilt-tripping way to make people just, like give up holidays, give up, you know, their free time, give up their family, just sort of all take care of the tigers. And it's just like he's just using them for the labor. They work like he said, extremely long time to get paid like a pittance for that.
Because didn't they say they got paid like $100 a week?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think between his place and Joe's place, like they got paid shit. I think from $100 to $150 a week.
Yeah, like Joe wasn't much better in that regard.
Yeah.
But then you had Carol, who had her volunteers.
Yeah, and then this could, like, once again, could also just be the documentarian's bias, but it definitely seemed pretty exploitative in that regard as far as Carol.
Well, yeah, it was like a tiered system of volunteers, but like, I don't know, man. It's kind of difficult to judge that because
I mean they're like they volunteer.
If it's a non-profit group and they're working to get this up and like, and they're like, I don't know, like I don't know if they're a non-profit group or not, and I should look that up. I'm gonna look it up and see if they're if Carol Baskin's Big Tiger Rescue. Hey, cool cats and kittens. See if that is a non-profit group. But if they are non-profit, it is perfectly reasonable for them to have volunteer come. And in the ranking volunteer, like how you have to be 5 years to work in this regard, and you have a blue shirt, like that shit is that's what drives volunteership in a non-profit. So
yeah,
I know it sounds like bullshit. It's like, oh yeah, she's profiting, and like I don't know.
A lot of it. There was definitely a lack of information on that regard. It was just kind of like, look at this. This is kind of shady.
And it just, and like what we've been saying, that they're with these documentaries, and just like documentaries, you know, like we're the only reality we're getting from it is just like the reality that they give us, and that isn't to say that the parties involved aren't, you know, malicious or at least selfish in what they do. It's just like we kind of have to take it with a bit of faith and a bit of grain of salt at the same time. Like there's definitely some stuff about what the people do in the show that's kind of like irrefutable, and but I guess at the same time there's still some pieces that we just don't know.
Yeah.
By the way, it is a non-profit. So
okay.
I mean, you got to understand is they probably get funds from these other organizations, and then those people they do audits on these sanctuaries and things like that. So, like, if they're a nonprofit, I don't know what, you know, I don't know what their funding is from, where their funding is from. If they're giving government conservation stuff, if they're getting independent conservation stuff, they're getting audited. So they're having people literally come down there and make sure these tigers are in good condition. And not only that, but that means that their books are being double-checked by the government and by these other organizations to make sure that they're not profiting off these tigers. So,
well, yeah. I mean, and that was something that was even mentioned in the documentary. It was like every time they would come to, you know, inspect her place, you know, she would always pass.
Yeah, and but that's the thing is just like it's not just one group that's inspected.
Yeah.
It's basically every single funder would have to come and look at their stuff and be like, oh, you pass or you don't pass. And, like, she passes. And if she's passing, that means she's not making... she does have a salary, okay? How much of that salary is, I don't know.
Yeah.
But they're making money. They're making their salary off of it, but it's a non-profit, so they're not like making exorbitant amount of money off of this business.
Yeah.
So I just personally don't believe that Carol Baskin is. I think she's the craziest of cat ladies, and
yeah.
I think she just really loves her cats. I just really do. I think she really loves these cats and would do anything for them, including murder, for them. I don't know. You know what? I'm Team Carol Baskin. Fuck Joe.
Well, I think we can go further down the line now because after we sort of have this exploration of like Carol and Doc Antle to an extent, we start to like delve more into like the growing cult of celebrity that Joe is sort of putting around himself, because he's very smart, but it comes to like, you know, making himself well known and sort of like building this sort of presence around himself. And he has this documentarian come in and sort of film everything he's doing at all times of the day that he puts up on a streaming service. So he sort of like putting himself out there. He's building up the zoo. He's gaining up this notoriety.
Are you talking about the reality show producer?
Yeah, Rick.
Yeah, who apparently has a documentary where he is the subject of.
Yeah, it's about his cocaine addiction.
I believe so.
Yeah, I think he used to work for Inside Edition back in the day and did all kinds of stuff.
He has a pretty solid resume, and he thought filming Joe, because Joe's filming his own stuff, and then Rick's filming a simultaneous show, and this was going to be Rick's retirement. It's going to be my big break, because I found the craziest person in the West that I can just go build this whole show on top of, and then from there we sort of start finding the more deplorable things that Joe Exotic's doing. He has all these sort of live-in caretakers, and sort of how they sort of subsist off, expired Walmart meat that the tigers also eat from, and he also sells to the public as pizza. Yeah. And then they're also living in these rat nest shithole apartments on the property of the zoo too. And he helps people who are out of jail and sort of gets them back on their feet, but at the same time it does still feel very predatory and it's exploitative.
Yeah, it definitely. Are you still there, Cody?
Yeah.
Okay. You weren't talking for a bit, so I was like, oh, did it cut out again?
No, I'm here. I'm thinking, speaking about the pizza thing, I gagged because I.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Knowing my ass I love going on road trips, and if I see a sign for Joe Exotic, if I saw his fucking face on the side of a road, I would have stopped, got me a slice of pizza, and looked at some tigers. I'm sorry, that's just the type of person I am.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
My ass would be eating that spoiled meat.
It's just but when you see them back up the 18-wheeler and just shovel out all this Florida hot meat with just G stripping out, and then you have all the characters scrambling to get their cut of the meat. It's just sort of it's just unsettling.
Yeah, it was, and I love the cut for where they're talking to Doc Antle, and he's like, yeah, it takes $10,000 a month to feed or was it $100,000 to feed a tiger for 1 month here, and then it cuts to Joe Exotic. I only need $3,000 to feed all my tigers for a year.
Yeah, that was a really yeah.
It was ugh.
Yeah, Doc. Also, speaking of Doc Antle again, how they were driving down the road on his property in his little sanctuary or whatever it is, and as you're driving through, you see, oh yeah, that's my one girlfriend's house, that's my other girlfriend's house, and they're mansions, and I'm like, how can I get in on this action, Doc Antle? How long do I have to live in the horse pen to get
because you have all these women living in basically stables, and then maybe I'll graduate to the big house when we live with Doc.
Yeah. I really felt bad. First of all, the lady that they had that has had escaped Doc Antles, she had a very cozy home. I felt very comfortable in her house during the documentary. And two, I felt so bad for her because she was genuinely sad about the tigers. And that's the thing is that they fell in love with the tigers, and I don't know.
Well, and then there was that one tiger she really got attached to, and the tiger got attached to her. And then Doc Antle was like, "Guess I'm taking this one out around back,"
because
literally to a gas chamber.
Yeah,
because he had this thing where he would have the tiger cubs sort of go for these little play dates. They pass them around to be petted, and I want to say graduate 6 months, and just oh, we just don't ever see these tigers again. Where'd they go? Who knows? Yeah, and he was killing those tigers.
Yeah, because there was this very brief window of time where you can safely, handle a tiger before it's you know what, I'm going to eat your ass, and not in the good way.
Yeah, no. At some point,
Yeah.
And we will just go on more Joe City behavior. He sort of has his husband that sort of works and lives on the property, and how he sort of conned this young man into being in a relationship with him with the love of tigers and meth. Basically, he like took a straight man and made him be in a gay relationship with him.
He got 2 straight men.
Like he met. What was the first one's name? Was it John? I think.
That sounds right.
Yeah, that sounds right.
John Finley. He was fresh out of high school when they met.
And he was significantly older, right? Like 30 something at that point.
Because he lived with Joe for what 10 years. That's what like a long
10
time.
plus, yeah, something like that.
Mm-hmm. And then there was Travis,
and how he was 19 when Joe found him, and that sort of like in a similar respect, like he found a young man that was like had a predilection towards substance abuse and sort of just like pumped him full of like drugs and just sort of like led him around and sort of like somehow was able to con him into marriage. It's like they all 3 of them got married in this weird polyamorous this like control of relationship.
Yeah,
that was a little fucked up. Especially considering both men were, I guess, straight, quote unquote, and
or at least identified as heterosexual at this point.
Yeah, and how Joe basically, and I felt bad for Joe for this because, like, small town Oklahoma, like, what are your options?
Yeah.
And I did do some research. I've been doing some research on. I did some research on the dude that he's married to now.
Dylan?
And apparently still married to.
Yeah.
And that dude is actually gay. So.
Yeah,
Good job, Joe. You did it.
3rd time's the charm.
You only had to ruin the lives of 2 other men to get to like an actual gay man to marry.
It's like the funny.
Yeah.
The funny thing to me was they interviewed him because at one point in the show, I believe like he knew that. I don't know if it was John or Travis. He knew that they were straight, but then he pulled out an old ass Ron White joke out of his back pocket. He was like, "Hey, when you watch porn, do you like a man to have a little weenie or a big old weenie?" He's like, "Oh, I guess a big. Well, I guess you ain't all that straight." And that is pulled straight from Ron White's stand-up special.
I was yelling at the TV.
Yeah, I was like, "Did this motherfucker really copy Ron fucking White?"
And then like the old kid was just like, "Well, I guess not." And just like, "You got me, Joe."
Well,
put a ring on my finger.
And didn't I think this is kind of hearsay, but didn't someone they interview say that Joe said, it was like, how much meth does it take for you to suck my dick or something like that? Or I could have dreamed that.
I mean, it's not far out of the realm of possibility.
I mean, that's essentially what happened. They gave him enough meth and just like, or kind of like dangled it on a fishing line over his cock. It's like, I'll give you this meth if you
No.
do
You
the
see,
deed.
he had it dangling off of his Prince Albert. He had the meth like a Christmas ornament.
Because he just casually drops that, and it's like he has like a padlock he attached to that he hangs over his bed.
Sometimes I put.
Yeah, and he's like, I don't wear underwear.
You see, Cody, he should have added that to his campaign spiel. He goes, "I'm broke as shit. I don't wear underwear. I got a Prince Albert on the tip of my penis, and I put locks on it sometimes."
It's like, how do you think I got my bus here? I pulled it with the hitch on my dick.
There are people that do that.
You got my vote, Joe.
I mean, if somebody with 18 ear piercings in one ear, yeah, of course his dick is pierced.
Because like, he was covered in metal. If Magneto showed up in his camp, he'd be dead in a second.
Like, that eyebrow ring wasn't even in the right place. Have anybody?
It was like it was dangling off a
like
ball.
I stole
it. Looked like a skin tag is what it was.
I stole the fucking meme from Facebook and put it on my Twitter of just this little kid just hanging on for dear life onto like a bunk bed, and it just says Joe Exotic's eyebrow ring on top. It's like, yep, you nailed it there, bud.
Do we want to go ahead and, since we're on the subject of his husbands, talk about the incident with Travis?
Oh, yeah, because episode 5 probably delivers like the most like impactful moment in the show, because I remember getting to this point, and when it happened, it felt like I had never seen anything that raw in a documentary before, because we're sort of leading up to the point, we're sort of given this idea that Travis is extremely unhappy and feels very trapped in this relationship. How he's acting out, but he's just constantly doing drugs, just getting like more and more like like erratic in his behavior, and it sort of culminates in there's a bit of security footage that we see Joe's Exotic's campaign manager talking to Travis, and he's sort of like they're talking back and forth, and he's sort of like he's casually playing with a loaded gun, and it's like, oh, blah blah blah, this is not loaded, it won't fire. And then whether he meant to do this or it's a sad accident, Travis puts the gun to his head and he pulls the trigger and he kills himself. We don't see Travis actually die. You just see the campaign manager reacting to Travis's death in that moment, and it's the most haunting and chilling thing in the entire show.
And not to be hyperbolic in any sense, but it did make me a little queasy just knowing that. And it doesn't show anything. You just see the campaign manager's reaction to it. But
You see a flash.
Yeah.
You see the flash, but you don't see like the blood.
You don't see the body. You don't see
everywhere.
because Travis and he's sitting directly underneath the camera that they take the footage from for that scene, and it's just like the camera. He doesn't almost believe it even happened because it's just kind of like, holy shit, this.
Because he's sitting there for at least a solid minute before he like, hey
Even
man, are you
gets
okay?
up.
Because I think the story is like, I think it was like a Ruger, and apparently it didn't have a clip in it. I guess there was one in the chamber he didn't know, but oh man, I can't fire if there's no clip in it. Watch, and then boom.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Liz and I were watching it, and the funny thing was, before that scene even came up, like probably 10 minutes before, I look over at Liz and I'm like, we haven't seen any current footage of this Travis guy.
Yeah.
And then that happens, and my jaw is on the floor for at least 5 minutes. Like, I'm just like, oh my God, wow, this is insane.
Like watching like someone's like real time reaction to another person's death is just like, how do you react to that?
Yeah.
How do you deal with that?
Yeah, like Pat was saying, that is definitely probably like the biggest, I guess, gut punch of the entire thing.
And honestly, that guy I feel the worst for throughout this whole thing.
The Travis.
I feel bad. Like I feel bad for Travis, but I feel bad for the campaign manager to a large degree.
Oh yeah.
He was just this kid, obviously a smart kid, in this middle of nowhere town with probably not that much going on in his life, and like he not only gets to witness this train wreck, and it was really funny because when I was watching at the beginning, when they first showed the campaign manager, he was like, I was Joe Exotic's campaign manager, and it was the worst thing that I've ever done in my entire life. And I was like, haha, that's funny. And then you realize, oh, he witnessed Joe's husband shoot himself in the head. And you're like, oh, fuck, it really was the worst thing that's ever happened to him in his entire life. And I feel really bad for him because, I mean, he was a smart kid in a world of craziness, and
He just got caught in the vortex, and then
he got caught in the Joe vortex.
yeah, then there's two separate interviews with like sets of interviews where one is where it was further in the past, and he looks pretty well put together, and then there's the more recent one, and he just looks disheveled as fuck.
No, when you see somebody commit suicide and you're getting paid in old expired Walmart bologna, that'll probably do it to you.
Yeah.
How if he's paying his people who work at the zoo like $100 a week, how much is a campaign manager getting?
I'd be willing to bet little to nothing, because if he didn't pay the people who wrote his songs for him, I'd drop. I can't imagine anybody else.
We haven't even touched on and it says it before every fucking music video, country music artist Joe Exotic.
I mean, like, we still have so much more to go.
I mean, this could be a 4-hour fucking podcast. God Almighty!
If you thought our Final Fantasy episode was a humdinger in length, like this could top even that.
But before we go away from the more morose shit, especially the Travis stuff, the funeral.
The funeral.
It was that was so uncomfortable.
That was the most Michael Scott thing I have ever seen. And just when he's like, I'm just gonna miss his balls slapping my face.
Balls,
and
just like
then
two golden nuggets in my forehead.
He made Travis's funeral about himself.
And then it cuts to Travis's mom, and she is just pissed.
Like,
And I'm like, I don't blame you, lady. Because
Well, not only was she pissed, but she's like tripping on something as well. Like you could tell.
yeah, she was not like she was definitely not like obviously she's distraught, but she was on something to just trying to get by because she was.
It was just like 2 little gold nuggets just slapping my face.
And then he sings one of his lip syncs at the funeral.
Oh, I didn't even put that one together because all the music videos, I'm like, wow, he's
I don't
not.
know. Like the singing at the funeral sounded significantly worse than his music videos.
I would not be surprised if he actually sang, or if they put it, or he was lip syncing and also singing at the same time. Like he
Like he was just drifting in and out.
It was very reminiscent of that scene. Like I swear to God, I don't know if y'all watched Eastbound and Down. I know we've talked about this before.
I haven't.
There's one of the characters in the show. It stars Danny McBride. Danny McBride has to be Joe Exotic if they ever make this a movie or a TV show. But there's a scene where his best friend, like I think, overdoses, and he goes to the funeral. And he shows up with a fucking boombox, just like blasting music, and like puts it on top of the coffin. He's like, "Y'all, I know he's my best friend, and he's dead, but I just want you to know that I'm still alive." And starts playing "Alive" by Pearl Jam on the boombox, and his fucking family just flip out and break it, and he like darts off. I'm still alive, and I'm like, oh my God, that. I don't know what came first, the chicken or the egg in that scenario, if the real funeral or the Eastbound and Down funeral, but I was like, oh my God, this is very much art imitating life here. It's crazy. I think somebody even memed it up. It's like Joe Exotic at Travis's funeral walking out. Hey, baby, you treat me oh so bad. It was fucking crazy.
And then like
I still can't get.
God.
Oh,
I can't get over the funeral. I really can't because it was all about Joe. It was all about Joe once, and you look over into the crowd of people just sitting there, just fucking kind of flabbergasted at what they're watching, and the mom is, and I hate to say this, but like maybe she was just grieving, but she really was tripping hard on something.
I mean, it could probably just be like some sort of SSRI to like calm her nerves because
it reminded me of. Do you know? And I hate. I don't want to say this, but the people around where we live, the pill people, the people who get prescription medication and abuse them.
Yeah.
That's what her actions, like. I think that's immediately what I saw was that interaction, and that was just like I felt. I don't know, like it was Travis. It was a travesty. It really. I mean, like,
Oh come on! You can't make a fun about somebody's funeral.
Travis just got caught up in the Jonado, and
God damn it!
and it all went downhill. Okay, all right. Continue.
Even
on.
the dogs upstairs are reacting to that one. I can just hear. I just want to touch on this, and it's going to go back to something that happened in episode 2, but. In the funeral, he's wearing like one of those Catholic priest collars, like that little white thing. So he has gear for every goddamn occasion apparently. Because when Seth gets his arm taken off, he whips on a fucking EMS bomber jacket quicker than you can say, "I got an eyebrow ring on my dick." And
I'm never gonna financially recover from
dude,
this.
we didn't touch that. Like, oh my God,
That's the first thing out of his mouth when Saf gets his arm ripped off. I'll never financially recover from this.
somebody online has gotten a personal debit card made, and it's that shot with the caption, "I'm never going to financially recover from this" at the bottom. Fucking beautiful.
Well, then on top of that, he goes to the visitors to the park, and in my opinion, he does not. He just like escalates the situation by being like, "Well, guys, one of our workers just got fucking mauled.
It's better to hear it from me than the news."
Yeah, if you want a refund or a rain check, just let me know. Let me put my EMS jacket on real fast. Yeah, and this is a guy who ran for political office. He has an attire for a funeral and an attire when somebody, gets a body part taken off. But when he's running for, like, president and governor, it's just, like, fucking just crazy.
Yeah.
Wearing my flashy, like, Rock from 1999 shirt. Goddamn broke as shit.
The other no, I don't say cool, cruel thing about the whole thing was whenever the tiger mama was having babies and they just got like a coal
fucking
rake
stick!
just dragged
Just-
out.
Yes.
It's like he's like, hey, point it at her ass.
Point
It's-
at her
it's-
ass. Point that at her ass right there.
And then when the tiger baby just like shoots out like a bottle rocket, he just gets like these like buffet tongs and just like grabs the damn thing out.
It really makes Joe Exotic, man.
Well, and then to stay on the funeral for a little longer, like he marries Dylan like 2 months later.
Like he says, "Oh, I'll never recover. This is the most like emotionally impactful thing I ever lived through." And then 2 months later, he found some other barely out of his teenager boy to marry.
Invites Travis's mother to the fucking wedding.
Yeah, I was.
It's not even a wedding,
has-
but she. Oh my god.
He not only invited her, but got her to take photos with them just so that he could post them so that other people wouldn't question whether or not it was okay for him to marry her.
Oh my god.
And then and after that, he just fucked off. He never talked to her again, and she just sort of left with the shambles of her life that her young son is dead.
Yeah, and that was sort of another bomb they kind of dropped subtly because like the way the shots are cut, it makes it seem like there's a significant amount of time that's passed for when he's starting to date, and then they were like, yeah, he married Dylan 2 months later, and it was like, wait, what?
Yeah, I thought a significant amount of time had passed, but no. A very insignificant amount of time has passed. And oh god, I know we're jumping out of order. I know there's like one thing we need to cover before we get to the other piece of shit that we have not talked about yet. There's a couple more pieces.
We haven't
of
even
shit.
got to Jeff Lowe
No,
yet.
we haven't
God damn.
Like his producer, like
Yeah.
when all the footage gets destroyed, somebody burns down the goddamn studio.
Which was also connected.
I agree with
agree.
that too.
Yeah.
I'm offering a $10,000 reward for any information that can lead to this man's arrest or whatever. And
Because all of Michael Jackson's gators were burned up there too, along with my resources.
because like the realization, because I think he was like the producer guy was talking to other people about making his Joe Exotic reality show, and
he was going to shop it around the networks.
yeah, and he was like. And then I guess Joe was with him or whatever. Yeah, because they filmed it with a camera phone the whole time. He goes, "Well, we have all this footage," and Joe's like, "Yeah." And then they're like, "Well, what do we need you for? Like, we have all the footage we need." And then like what? A couple days later, the fucking studio goes up in flames, killing like Michael Jackson's alligators.
Yeah, and then there was like the way those events lined up. It was in line with something that had to do with the legal stuff with Carol Baskin.
Yeah.
One of the lawsuits.
God, I'd already
too.
forgotten about her. She was part of this too.
And then like Joe was conveniently out of town at a funeral just the same day that the fire went down. So like it's just a very murky series of events.
See, he just showed up at a funeral. He didn't know this person. He just had it sing.
It's just it's like I heard you're looking for y'all heard about the wedding singer. I'm the funeral singer.
I'm just going to tell you about little Jim Bob over here. Jim Bob, his balls are just like little gold nuggets. They're slapping my face.
Who are you?
I tell this at every funeral I go to.
It's like, sir, please leave.
And then it cuts to him, and he just has the fucking rigor mortis ball slapping him.
Because like the whole Carol Baskin thing, I think it had to do with like there's like footage of them going to like the front of her big cat rescue, like wearing like dead rabbit outfits, rabbit outfits with like blood on them, not real dead rabbits, obviously, but like shit like that. And
Because there was a lawsuit over Joe Exotic using like making these flyers for his sort of traveling show that were like very explicitly similar to advertisement that they had. There's like they have like reams and files and folders of like every sort of like miscreant thing he's done towards them. They're like very litigious, Carol and Howard.
Yeah, and like the whole thing Joe was trying to do was trying to steal, Google traffic away from Carol. That fucking bitch.
So I guess it's Jeff Lowe time, huh?
Because
You still there, Cody? Oh,
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
I'm here. I'm eating a mint, so I muted myself. Sorry.
okay.
because like how do we
I didn't want to just hold on, let's try and crunch.
Get that ASMR.
Yeah, I didn't want to crunch in the mic, so I muted myself.
because like, how do we get to Jeff Lowe? Because like after the funeral, like Joe starts to get into like financially dire straits because after his both of his failed political aspirations, he's sort of diverting all the money he would put into his zoo towards that, and they both failed. And he's just like very exorbitantly price and just like these big extravagant events, and sort of like it's left him in the red. And so he sort of has Jeff Lowe come in to sort of like help refinance the zoo and sort of like get it back on track. But then the person, the Jeff Lowe, this character, he's a extremely devious and shady character right from the off.
Yeah.
I mean, he more or less cons Joe out of his park.
It's I guess in order to keep from like going to bankruptcy, he puts the zoo in Jeff Lowe's name, and just sort of like through these wheelings and dealings, Jeff sort of like slowly accumulates all the property in the zoo and sort of like kind of pushes Joe out.
Because I think Jeff brings Joe to his mansion. Like he's like flashing off like all of his cars and his mansion, which turned out to be a rental. Like, goddamn, how much does it cost to rent a fucking mansion? But apparently he wasn't like as big as Joe thought he was, and then Jeff gets a fire lit under his ass because it comes to light about all the money from the zoo getting funneled into the campaigns, and there's like video shot, it looks like again from a cell phone, of them just like fucking yelling at each other about it.
Like
well, more so Jeff yelling at Joe.
Well, yeah, he's dogging Joe out for just sort of like pissing away all of his money,
Yeah.
and sort of like because Joe is in danger of bringing Jeff down with him because like they're kind of in it together, or like Jeff is the owner of the zoo, and then like but Joe's still spending all the zoo's money, and he's like you're gonna run us out of business for doing all this silly bullshit with the campaign.
Well, and then Joe also basically bankrupt his mother as well with all the lawsuits and stuff.
That made me real sad.
Same here. I felt so bad for his mom.
And then sort of like we start learning more about like Jeff's sort of seedy past, like how he had a connection with tiger cubs and stuff before this. Like he would take like baby tigers, put them in suitcases, sneak them up to hotel rooms for like big titty bitches to come play around with, and he's sort of like playing around with all these women and like doing all these little shady stuff, and like. And so he sort of ingratiates himself deeper into Joe's life and like more and more into shady business as he's sort of like trying to rebuild the park as well.
And on top of that, Jeff Lowe looks like if a monster can was wearing an affliction shirt was a person. It would be Jeff Lowe.
Like if Jeff Lowe joined not Jeff, God damn it. If Jigsaw from the Saw movies joined the Sons of Anarchy with a monster sponsorship, because like this dude's like what 50 something years old,
And he's wearing like tap out gear and affliction and all this fucking bullshit.
There is in no world he doesn't like radiate criminal energy.
Like he just looks like if you got near him, you'd get hepatitis A through D.
He's a scary man. He is a very scary man, and I don't know. Like throughout he made me the most uncomfortable. You could he just seemed so sinister, and later on in the show they talk about there's this other Chucky looking bastard,
Page boy motherfucker.
Lee Garrettson.
Yeah, the dude who
Who apparently stole a Hummer and sold it to a guy.
And owns all these like dirt poor like strip clubs.
Yeah, like no, like that dude weirded me out too.
It was like Jabba the Hutt with like a page boy haircut.
Yeah, James Garrettson.
Excuse me.
God, he was like the fat guy from Jurassic Park who gets eaten by the dinosaur that shoots the venom out and blinds him.
Newman.
Yeah, the guy who plays Newman in Seinfeld. He just reminded me of a blonde version of him.
The one line from that show that like stands out to me the most in regards to this guy, he's talking. He's like, I don't know what it is. You got the people who have monkeys. They're a certain kind of crazy, but you have these big cat people. They're just nothing but backstabbing pieces of shit, which is very ironic coming from him, I might add.
Because he's shady as fuck too.
Yeah, and I mean, he's the entire reason that Joe gets brought down, because he's the one who goes to the feds first.
Yeah, we haven't even glossed over the damn. Well, we have glossed over the fucking murder for hire case that ultimately brings this whole empire crumbling down.
Which is basically the climax of this entire series.
Believe it or not.
They give him
because like
meth fueled Terminator. They give meth fueled Terminator $3,000 to go to Florida to kill Carol Baskin.
Because like after Travis's death, he gets like more and more paranoid, and it's like his animosity with Carol is like ever building. So he gets in with like Jeff Lowe and that
Allen guy.
That Allen guy who's somehow even shadier looking than Jeff, and like it's like this weird, very shady, nebulous plan. And then like Garrett said he's involved in all this too, because he catches wind of all this, and then they sort of like set out this weird plot and demotion to kill Carol Baskins.
This is honestly like dumbass Breaking Bad, like through and through. Like truly, like I can't help. I like everything. The more I'm thinking about this web of bullshit. It's just like,
oh my god!
It's like if Breaking Bad, it is as close to Breaking Bad writing itself as we're gonna.
It's like King of the Hill makes Breaking Bad. Or
Vince Gilligan has to be the showrunner if this ever becomes a TV series. This has to happen.
And you say that, and then there is a literal guy named Walter White who apparently cooked some of the best meth ever that actually existed.
Whoa!
In Bessemer, I might add.
Oh shit! No way.
No shit.
Look
it up. Vice did a piece on him.
Hell yeah! Alabama represent.
I mean, plus like, it's amazing the level of depravity and criminal activity that the South can just sort of put out there. I mean, going back a beat to like the Zanesville like pet guy just like let all his animals loose. We got a taste of that too, and like when that guy let that boa constrictor loose last like a couple summer goes in Alberta, which is like 15.
No, that was last year.
Last year, someone just let a giant ass boa constrictor out in the woods around Alberta, and just like I don't know if they ever caught the damn thing, but people were seeing sightings because like pets were going missing, and this thing's just like ever expanding as it just sort of eating the local wildlife.
No, that bitch is out there still. We're gonna run up on that.
Because I remember, like,
I kind of hope so.
Because I remember at my work, we had like literal snake traps out.
Alberta boa constrictor, if you're out there, come on our show. Tell your story.
Oh God. Yeah, but Jeff fucking sucks.
Yeah.
He's a terrifying man. But what I was saying was that later on in the show, at the very end, when Joe finally, and I'm gonna just skip ahead a lot of shit, when Joe finally goes to prison for the attempted murder, well, partially because of the attempted murder of Carol Baskin, well, they bring most of the shit that goes against Joe actually comes from animal abuse stuff.
Yeah, which I mean, he should have went to jail for.
Yeah, it's perfectly fine for that. And but like the thing that he says is like I'm going to let everybody know about what's out there, and there are secret railways that tigers are sent on and all this other stuff. And that's very true. Most of the exotic animal trade happens like underground, just like drugs and sex trafficking. And a lot of times sex trafficking, drugs, and animal trafficking all happen in the same ways. So there is a big chance that any information that Joe gives to get out of prison could possibly bring down a sex trafficking ring. And I don't know how to handle that.
Yeah, and that's just like fucking wild.
Yeah, because Joe does have a huge probably has a lot of information on it, and he's one big mouth motherfucker, so he's gonna speak on it. And like, who knows at this point how many sex trafficking rings or animal trafficking rings or drug trafficking rings he's already brought down, just being like, there's one out there in fucking Oklahoma City, So I don't know.
Or like he has connections to, because he's been like illicitly trading and selling tigers himself.
Yeah, and so I can only imagine what might come of this, and like you got to start thinking about like the karmic, I don't know, balance there. Like how many names does Joe have to give up before his sins are forgiven for everything that he's all the bullshit
He's like
he's
the
done,
redneck Tekashi 6ix9ine or some shit like that.
Yeah,
It's like
like
Yeah.
I don't know.
it's like I definitely think even if Joe ended up in jail because of like a conspiracy between like Jeff, Alan, and James, like it's like he's in jail, but I feel like he should still be in jail for just like a bunch of trumped up bullshit that he should have been caught on long before this. It's just whether or not like he's actually involved in like a murder for hire. That's sort of, I guess, for the viewer to decide, depending on what they're given in the show.
Yeah, it's definitely very nebulous on whether he did that, but at the same time, I mean, can you blame the jury for convicting him because he just couldn't keep his goddamn mouth shut? Like when he's shooting the fucking doll, the sex doll that he made of Carol Baskin, and
Like he has that pickle jar with like her head, like a facsimile of her head in the jar.
yeah, and like he actually sent snakes to her, and he's just and all the time he's like, someone needs to kill that bitch. Someone needs to kill that bitch.
Posting stuff on Facebook, I finally know where the bitch lives and like her property.
Yeah,
like shit like that.
And like finding like this like bike trail she goes up and down for her writing, or like to film her vlogs. Like even if he didn't go through with it, there was still so much like antagonistic, unsettling evidence against him that would have obviously led to his conviction.
Yeah, and it was ultimately over like relatively petty stuff. Like both of them just kind of dug their heels in the dirt. And then, Joe just took it way too far.
Yeah, I think Joe's biggest Achilles heel is the fact that he just won't shut the fuck up. Like he just won't take a moment to realize I'm a dumbass. I need to be quiet.
It's like that, and the fact that he literally had signs all through his zoo and his park that said, "I'm recording everything." Like he made it a point to say like he had everything recorded, which I think ultimately led to the demise of his recording studio.
Because like there was so much incriminating evidence against him, so he ended up torturing. I mean, they found that bug in one of their offices. Like,
yeah, I forgot about that. Holy shit!
The FBI was like tailing him, and then it just sort of like at the end of this whole story, no one got out of it unscathed or is better off, because like you see like all these sort of extra characters that we haven't even talked to, like the double amputee man had the prosthetic legs. They're the blonde haired caretaker.
Oh,
like
that Eric Cowie guy with the long hair, man. I felt so bad for him.
Like
How many wives does Doc Andel have? Man, I don't give a fuck.
See, and here's the thing too. It's just like Joe. I said in our Tiger King chat on Twitter that I do think that Joe deserves a redemption arc in a way, and I think he deserves one. And towards the end, right before he went to prison, there was a moment where he was crying. He was in tears, and he was saying that he had to send his two chimpanzees. Monkeys, two monkeys down to a Florida, ironically down to a Florida conservation place, and because he had moved to a different place trying to hide out from the law, which somehow the camera guys found. Anywho, and
well, I think Joe told him about it because he couldn't keep his goddamn mouth shut.
Because that's when the documentarian started to come back to light, when all the shit was about to go down. He was like calling him like, "Where you at, Joe?" Like blah blah blah.
But the thing that gets me is that when he said that, he said they filmed the monkeys, the chimpanzees, going out into their sanctuary, and he started crying. He's like, I looked at them, and I had kept them in separate cages for 12, 15 years. I don't know how long he said.
At least 10 years.
Yeah. I'd kept them in separate cages for so long, but as soon as they got out there, they hugged each other and held on to each other and loved on each other. And he was like, have I really been keeping them apart for 10 years? Have they really had that emotional connection for 10 years?
Yeah,
and I've kept a wall between them?
Yeah, it was the first and probably only time he ever came across as self-reflective and remorseful for his actions.
Yeah.
And like you were saying, I definitely kind of felt that. Whether it was genuine or not, I mean, it was definitely emotionally charged.
Yeah, and I definitely think that I think it was genuine because I feel like it was genuine. I don't feel like he would come to that realization if it wasn't genuine. I think he was doing a lot of reflection because I did think he realized, okay, I'm at the end of my road here.
Yeah.
And the thing is, though, is there's so much opportunity for him to have a redemption arc. I still think he's a piece of shit. I think he's a stupid fucking idiot who literally did the dumbest things possible. But at the same time, I feel like there's so much room for him to be able to say, hey, yeah, these are the people I know in this industry that are trafficking animals and other things. This is and then also working to maybe even making up with Carol Baskin at some point. I don't know why. I don't know if I imagined this. I can't remember the specifics, but I feel like him and Carol Baskin he started actually not hating Carol Baskin as much.
Well,
especially when he was in prison.
Well, Netflix, they recently they got a video phone interview with him from prison, and they released it. And they basically asked him, he goes, so what's going to happen with the whole Carol Baskin saga when you get out? And he said, he goes, I'm done with all that. It's time to put that to rest. So
yeah, and so it might be interesting to see him actually, if he does get out, if he is able to get out before he dies.
Because he was sentenced to 22 years.
Yeah, which he would be, 72?
Because he was mid-50s when all this was happening.
And then news going around that
it's interesting to see if he does get out and actually can go into conservation and actually helps to bring down some of these rings. I think that would be the most I don't want to say liberating, but that'd be the best ending for Tiger King. Is for him to actually be a king and get your crown, king. I don't know, do his thing to where he's able to.
It would be the happily ever after.
It would definitely be an effort for him to make amends. I mean, I think him devoting any time he has on the outside to conservation, does that absolve him of things he's done? Absolutely not. But with the time he has left, it'd be good for him to do something constructive if he ever gets out,
and help fix. It may not even be the mistakes he made, but help fix the system that he was a part of.
Because his camp manager says at the end, the thousands of dollars that Carol and Joe had spent battling each other and all this other petty or silly extravagant bullshit, none of it went towards the animals, because because they say in the show there's more tigers living in captivity than are already left in the wild, and none of that was spent towards conservation. Because even Carol, as high as she kind of puts herself, she devoted all this time and energy toward her litigations against Joe, and it just seems like an enormous waste of resources, and just a waste of people's lives. Because like I said earlier, that all these people that sort of have been coming in and out of the story, they're poorer for it. Mm-hmm. Because you see the amputee man with he just sort of lives out of a garage now, and the blonde-haired caretaker, he looked absolutely haunted by the end of the show, just going through the trial and just seeing what happened to someone he thought was a friend, someone who gave him helped him when he was down. I won't forget that face that he made at the end. He just seemed like a shell of a man, and he was visibly drunk, talking about the good times of his life. And after the Senate scene, and Saf lost his arm, he sort of lived in a very humble place, and it's really sort of tragic. All of it, just the lives lost and the people who were deeply affected by it. It's just so weird to think of what we saw throughout the course of this show.
Yeah, and something we didn't talk about as far as with Joe is he was being exploitative, but he was specifically targeting people who were out of jail or homeless or down on their luck. Which
it was
on one hand it's okay, yeah, he's providing them an opportunity that they would not be able to find elsewhere, But I mean, they were living in a rat-infested shack where there was only one AC for all of them, and I mean,
it was charitable but still self-serving.
It's in the middle of fucking Oklahoma. Imagine it's pretty hot.
Yeah.
So
It's really fucked up. Really fucked up situation.
But yeah, like you were saying, I hope that he uses this time to stop making everything about himself and try to work to make the world a better place.
I mean,
All the ingredients are there. All the ingredients are there. It's going to take Joe actually.
Although he is happier than the pig and shit about the success of the show. Like, word has gotten out that he is like thrilled at how popular the show has gotten.
of course, because he's the most famous man in the world.
Yeah, I'm looking at according to IMDb, the only two people that were featured in all 7 episodes were Joe and Carol. All the other ones were just like in numerous others. It was just the Joe and Carol show.
Because I mean, the whole crux of the thing centered around their antagonism towards each other.
Yeah.
So, but there, I guess there is some like good news. I mean, John, he escaped and he's got a new set of teeth and he covered up that bad tattoo right above his privates.
Yes, property of Joe Exotic, all above his ween. It was. There's so much. There's just even little details from this show.
Like John was like the entire time he was interviewed, he had no shirt on.
Yeah, had no shirt on.
He had like 2 teeth, and then they would cut back to like it was even like footage from like 5 years before, and he still had his teeth. It was just sad seeing.
Yeah, he was losing his teeth as the show went on.
Yeah, but he has now got new teeth, and
he's got a new lady and he's working as a welder, so he's turned around good. Okay, again, plus like I just feel like I'm just getting all these little bits of like miscellaneous like bacon fat. Just from the show, like the blonde-haired guy, like he's pouring gasoline into a bucket while smoking a cigarette.
Yeah, and just stuff like that.
God, and like there's a bit I want to talk about that I thought was just bonkers. Is that like there's this whole wrestling dimension to this show that I went down this like wormhole about because Joe Exotic ran wrestling shows on his zoo because he became friends with the former NWA promoter Robert Langdon, and because Langdon was promoter of Texoma Pro Wrestling. They ran shows there from July 2015 to August 2017, and how they met was fucking bonkers because Joe was putting on a tiger and monkey ball, which is like a gala he threw for like big cat and exotic animal owners, and then he struck up a conversation with Robert Langdon. They became fast friends, so much so you can go back and watch and see Robert Langdon in the show because Robert Langdon, he gave away Joe at his second wedding.
Wow.
And then
see, the crazy thing about that is like all of this shit reminds me of wrestling. Like of all the bullshit that you guys have told me about wrestling over the years, 1000%, this is wrestling to a T in my mind. This whole Joe Exotic thing is just wrestling.
All of this was produced by Vince Russo. Not everybody knows this, but
because like I've seen multiple wrestlers say that like Joe reminded they met Joe through the NWA promotions, like they didn't bat an eye when they met him because he reminded them so much of like all the weird carny bullshit people that they encountered through them. And what I thought was crazy, I went and actually watched a like their first wrestling show because there are like 14 full-length wrestling shows still up on Joe Exotic's YouTube page, and the first one is like it's actually a pretty good show, and they even have like a big name from New Japan Wrestling. Hiroyoshi Tenzan, he was a big name in the 80s, and he's still wrestling now, and he was on that show. Was it just like, how the fuck did this all happen?
How they couldn't get Tiger Mask is beyond me.
Seriously. But like
another little tidbit from wrestling, like I didn't follow it, like the recent feud between AJ Styles and The Undertaker. Like there have been these pictures going up online of Undertaker like hanging out with these big cats. Turns out it was at fucking Doc Antle's place.
And just like there are so many weird tendrils that just sort of
Weird intersections.
just branch out from this fucking monster of a show. It's completely bewildering. Like how many fingers and how many pies that he has this fucking things in. Like
Also, I 100% believe that on a scale from Carol Baskins to Joe Exotic, that Doc Antle was 100% putting his penis in tigers. I believe he was fucking those.
You think he was fucking the tigers? I
believe more so than anybody else on that show. He just seemed very like God. He was like half chub, just talking about all these tigers.
God, that's the thing about Doc Antle. I imagine if like his ugly dick looks like a hard-boiled egg, and he's just like making all those poor women in their cat suit bend over backwards to like pleasure him. It's just like it's repulsive.
Because somebody on Twitter was like, "Does anybody else think that Joe Exotic was having sex with these tigers?" And I replied, I was like, "Actually, I think it was more Doc Antle than Joe Exotic."
Yeah.
God.
Hey, fucko, we call it interspecies erotica.
Jesus. And like, God, I feel like there's still stuff I wanted to talk about. Like, Joe Exotic allegedly has COVID-19, and like,
yeah.
And then we found out, and just like a tangent, like we found out about 5 days ago that the first confirmed animal to have COVID-19 was a tiger.
Wow.
And it's just like, how fucked up is the last 3 weeks been?
And so because my phone is listening to me on my YouTube suggested videos, David Spade, which I forgot has a talk show now. He's been recording his episodes from his house because everybody's on lockdown. He got interviews with a lot of people from that show, and he talked to Rick, his producer, Joe Exotic's former producer, and like apparently there was like some. Allegedly, there were some very shady animal murders. Apparently, Joe would just get mad and walk up to a tiger he didn't like and just shoot it in the face.
Because he walked around with a fucking pistol.
Yeah. Shot it right next to a camera person in one thing. Keep that camera on me. Just goes up and just pow, shoots it in the air. That bullet's got to go somewhere, jackass.
Well, and plus, like he was playing with the gun. It went off when he was playing with it, and then he like when Joe got attacked by the tiger in that pen, because like the tiger was kind of playing with him because they sprayed like perfume on his shoes, and the tiger was dragging him around. Like he shot at the tiger. He pulled out his pistol and shot it. And then the big thing is about that whole scene when he's getting dragged around the tiger. Not a single fucking person did anything to help him.
No one helped him. And then they cut to Carol Baskin where she says, "The tiger wouldn't go after him if they had cologne. You really need to put like sardine oil or something on his shoes for the tiger."
Like that's not suspicious. That's very specific.
It's like, Carol, you're giving yourself away.
God.
Yeah, I don't know. This whole show has, I don't know. I want to watch it again.
Me too.
I want to watch it again.
See, I plan.
I think.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say once this coronavirus thing is over and we can actually hang out again. I think we need to get together the group and just rewatch Tiger King together.
Oh yeah.
It just is a big fuck all group.
But as like little small tidbits, I didn't fully understand what a simp was until I saw Howard Baskin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny. Yeah.
But like,
I mean, she's got millions of dollars, so.
Do y'all want to do a quick ranking on the worst people?
Yeah, who are the worst people in the show?
Let's start with least worst to the worst.
I want to keep. I don't want to put any of the good people like the long blonde haired guy, the amputee guy. I like the legit shit-heels.
Like who are like unquestionably bad. You know.
So we're talking Carol. We're talking Joe.
Jeff.
Alan.
Jeff,
Garrettson.
Alan.
I would say the
Page boy.
Huh?
Page boy guy.
Yeah, Garrettson.
Oh yeah, Garrettson.
Yeah, the drug dealer guy.
Drug dealer guy.
I think the Scarface man's at the bottom of the list for me, at least.
Yeah, and that's the reason I put him on the list. Is like out of all of them, this guy seems like the least worst of them all. But I would probably say God, what I forgot his name, but the drug dealer.
Wait, is Jeff Lowe the drug dealer? Is that who you're talking about?
No, it was
the guy who was the drug dealer.
Like they rolled up to his
guy.
house. At first they wouldn't let him in, but then like he eventually let the people in.
I think I lost track of that character.
It was towards the beginning of the show.
I'm trying to find him on this IMDb thing.
Well, we'll come back to him. Like, who's after that?
Let's see.
Mario. That's the drug dealer's name.
Mario, yeah.
In Miami, the guy from
Yeah.
Next, I would probably say the big fat guy.
Yeah, Garrettson. He's like dirty and he's snitchy, but like he seems kind of mild by comparison.
Also, can we just talk about that scene where it just cuts to him on a fucking jet ski?
Like his big ass is like skipping along the water on the sea while Eye the Tiger plays out of nowhere, no context, just smash cut.
To me, that was like the worst implementation of that song. Like there are so many other moments you could have probably make that work better. It's like
I think it was the best.
I lost my shit seeing that.
I was at work.
I think it's important because at that moment, it was the moment where Chucky had taken down Joe. It was the moment where everything had come together, and Chucky was the man of the hour. And honestly, like to me, it was perfect because it showed just how fucking ridiculous this man was, just how ordinary this man was, just how much of a shitbag he was, as he was just riding a Sea-Doo. Lives in Oklahoma, by the way. I don't know how the fuck where he is with a Sea-Doo, and then playing Eye of the Tiger. I don't know. It's just like I think it was perfect. I think it was poetic, and honestly, it's better than Star Wars Episode 9.
Agreed, 100%.
You're not wrong.
We're still mad about Rise of the Skywalker.
I almost drop kicked the entire Rise of Skywalker display at Target yesterday. I was so angry.
Still bitter.
Needless to say, it's still full.
So I've got my list. I think.
You went ahead and ranked everybody.
Yeah, I went ahead and got my list. I've got 6 people. Does that sound right?
Well, let me hold on.
So let me get my notes up.
For my count, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. When it comes to 100% shit heels, yeah, I have 6.
Okay, all right. So we probably have the same people then.
Well,
I included Scarface.
Well, never mind. 7 if you include Scarface. This is my list.
Okay,
so.
Or wait.
So this is
Okay, yeah.
Go ahead.
And aren't we including like the methed out hitman too?
I was.
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Alan. Yes. Okay. Okay. Yes.
All right. So
I'm going to add him in too. Okay. So do y'all want to hear my
Yes.
list?
Go ahead.
So starting from least worst to worst. Number 7. Hi everyone and welcome to Watch Mojo. Today we're going to be counting down the worst people in Joe Exotic. So at number 7 I have Scarface. I think that he was probably a bad guy at some point. Obviously owning tigers and being an exotic breeder makes you a bad guy to some degree because you're valuing your love or your desire for the animals over the animals themselves. At number 6, I'm putting Carol. Carol comes in at number 6. I think she's the least worst. I think that her husband that she probably quote-unquote murdered was a shitbag himself. And obviously I think that she was doing everything to protect herself and her cats. I don't think Carol's a bad person, and I think that she's actually cares about her animals. At number 5, I put Chucky because I think he's a bad person. Out of 7 people, I still think he's a bad person. But in this particular case of stuff, I think he's a sleazeball. I think he's a gross little bastard. But out of this particular show, I don't think he's bad. I don't know what else he's done.
If for nothing else, I think he did the right thing in ratting everybody out.
Yes. At number 4, I'm putting Alan, because honestly, Alan, yeah, he's scary, but he's ultimately, if he's a gun, right? That he's a he's a shitbag person, but he ultimately did not kill. Ultimately, he got out of prison. He was in just a bunch of people. I just don't think that he's true. I think he's a bad guy, but I don't think that, like, in the context of the show, he deserves to be put at the very top.
Yeah, and the thing with Alan too is I felt like a lot of his stuff was posturing. It was definitely all talk, or it felt that way.
My number 3, I put Joe, and my top 3 are very close. They're not weighted equally. They're all weighted nearly. They're very much like
neck and neck.
I don't like them. I don't like these 3 are the worst. Joe is my number 3. Joe's just he's a dumbass bad person who is super egotistical and full of himself.
Yeah, and his charisma is really scary too.
Yes, my number 2 is Jeff. Jeff is scary. Jeff is scary because he's still making money off of this situation. I saw where he was doing. I forgot what that service is. It's where you can get somebody. You can get an actor or somebody to call or make a message saying, "Hey, happy birthday!"
Cameo, yeah.
Cameo. They're doing cameos.
Yeah, $150 a pop.
Him and his wife.
And then there was that one cameo where he just went off on this like communist tirade.
Who?
Jeff Lowe.
Yeah,
he's like, we need to redistribute the wealth and shit.
And also,
I felt like I jumped dimensions.
Isn't Cameo where he said that there's possibly going to be an 8th episode of Tiger King?
Well, he said, like, check out season 2. We won't be there. It's in that same communistic cameo he did.
Yeah, and the thing with me with Jeff is like, he definitely seemed like a sociopath, whereas everyone else was really narcissistic and kind of solipsistic and just obsessed with themselves. That guy was just, I don't know, there was just something about him.
He seemed like a person that would be turning the knobs. He's pushing the buttons and turning the knobs. Like he seems like a very, very smart guy.
Yeah,
he's definitely more like calculated and like low key and sinister and like his like bad behavior. Like he knows how to keep a low profile where everybody else is just like flying off the handle and just drawing attention to themselves. Like he skirts under the radar all the time, I think, with him.
Right. And my number 1, of course, would be Doc.
Yes.
I think Doc is the worst of them all because he is flamboyant about it. He's narcissistic. He bases it off of religious pretentiousness and the way he treats women and how he basically has a sex cult plus tigers plus out in the open, and everyone just is like, hell yeah, let's go Doc Antle. Let's go to Doc Antle's play. Like, he's a monster. He's a monster that has created an industry out of being a monster. He is Jim Jones. If Jim Jones, he's Jim Jones. He really is.
He is a cult leader.
Has his own, he literally has a gated community, like a fenced up plot of land with vicious tigers protecting him from any sort of government raid, which his place was raided, I think, as well, after the but the thing is though is that like the man is scary because I think he had the sociopathic tendencies that we saw in Jeff and the egotistical tendencies we saw in Joe, and I think to put those together and you get this weird fucking scary man that was being accused in his own home of leading a cult, and he was okay with it to the point to where it was almost kind of eerie. Most people would be like, get out of my house, don't say I'm running a cult. Like if a documentary person would started asking, hey, is this kind of cultish, a little sex cultish? Most people would be like, if they were running a sex cult, be like, get the fuck out, I don't want to talk to you about this. But he was like, no, it's not a sex cult. And he was just so direct with it, and it was kind of scary. I don't know, man. That something about Doc got me fucking weird.
Yeah, and I mean, and he was doing the only action that you cannot justify in any sort of situation, and that is he is ultimately sexually assaulting women.
Yeah.
And like grooming them and just being overly predatory and like manipulative and exploitative. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about Doc just being completely deplorable.
Yeah. I mean, granted, I don't know what exactly is true or not, but again, I saw another recent interview on YouTube where somebody got an interview with Doc regarding that raid, and apparently, according to him, it had something to do with the fact that, first of all, he said it wasn't really a raid. He said some people, check up, I think like USDA or something, they like check up on all this shit. He had acquired a couple of big cats that he had gotten from somebody else, and I guess that was them like checking up on the paperwork of these cats or something. That's, according to him, that's what the quote-unquote raid was regarding. Who's next? Did you want to do your list, Pat? Or
I didn't have a list.
Oh, well, I literally just made mine on the fly, and it's not far from Cody's. I think we only have like 2 different spots. Number 7, from least to the worst. I got Mario, the Scarface. I got, I think I have Carol and Chucky flipped. I got Chucky after the drug dealer, and then I have Carol Baskin. It's just something. I don't trust her, man. I'm not saying she's like terrible, but
yeah,
there's something not right there. But I think the rest of your list, the rest of our lists are spot on. I got Alan the Hitman, Joe Exotic, Jeff Lowe, and of course, piece of shit Doc Antle at the top.
Yeah, I'm glad we can agree that Doc Antle is.
I think we.
Yeah.
I think we all agree that Doc
Like, it kind
Antle
of goes
is
without
the
saying at
fucking
this
worst.
point.
Like honestly, like I think I'm in agreement with y'all. I mean, just like, both those lists sound good to me. Like, to me, the Chucky guy and Carol are kind of
that was
on a similar level. Now, if it does come out and to say, like, Carol did actually kill her husband, I think she would probably edge out.
They did reopen the murder
but like,
investigation.
not much.
So I definitely have a healthy level of doubt, respectful level of doubt surrounding her. But I'm open to hear more either way. But still, like, yeah, I got my eye in you, bitch. You're spooky.
I don't know how we can watch it. It's probably not going to be as entertaining, but apparently the channel Investigation Discovery is going to do a series, and apparently some new information is going to come to light about this whole Tiger King thing.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure there's plenty more secrets to be spilled from this. Like, they opened Pandora's box with this documentary, and I feel like we're going to hear... Even because we all keep talking about we could just kind of locked in place in our homes because even after everybody saw it, we were talking about it for just constantly for days and days and days.
We're still talking about it.
Yes,
and and I think just because they kicked an anthill with this story, and we're gonna there's gonna be ripples coming out from this for a long time yet.
And also, we didn't touch on it. Didn't they reopen the case about
they did
her former husband?
They did
because of this. But I when I was actually going to try to watch the series again and take notes, I have 4 notes here, one of which I thought was pretty funny. Out of everything that we've seen from the show, one of the first things you hear Joe say is when the documentarian's like, "Hey, just take the hat off." He goes, "Oh no, I can't do that." Your audience will be like, "Oh my God, he has a mullet," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's going to be the thing that's
the least offensive thing about the way you look."
According to TikTok, mullets are coming the fuck back.
They need to stay in the 90s and where they belonged.
Well, I think one last thing before we wrap up. Everybody put in one fantasy cast for the Joe Exotic Tiger King movie. Okay. I picked Kathy Bates to play Carol Baskins.
Hell
yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Who you got for a casting pick?
Oh fuck!
For just Carol on this one, or are we just
any character?
Anybody you got?
Come back to me. I got to think about it.
I want John Goodman to play Doc.
Oh, dude!
Oh, damn! Yes.
I was just about to do my Doc Antle. Tim Robbins.
Yeah.
All you have to do is get him to put on the shit he wore in High Fidelity, and that would be Doc Antle. The soul patch, everything. Just dye it fucking white, and
his hair is white now, so he can just let it go and just They'll just glue like a ZZ Top, like go flavor saver to his fucking face, because that's how disgusting it is.
I'm trying to think of something that's not like cliche or like something anyone said before, like David Spade is
Like
Joe
he's
Exotic.
actively petitioning to be.
Oh my God! Every Tiger King cast member that he interviewed, they're all like, "Oh man, just throw on that Joe Dirt wig and you can be Joe Exotic, man." Tobin Bell, who played Jigsaw, he's obviously Jeff Lowe.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Because I know I'm not 100% convinced they're not the same person. No, Jigsaw's a better person than Jeff Lowe.
Yeah, he's at least trying to help people in a very twisted, murderous
I'm
way.
trying to think.
Michael Rooker as Alan, the hitman.
Get out of my head.
Yes, that's perfect.
Oh,
Wait, was that the guy who played?
Merle in The Walking Dead.
yeah.
Oh, I was thinking. What's his name from fucking shit from Breaking Bad?
No,
No.
What's his name?
no, that's somebody else.
No, I know.
But he would be good too for Alan, I think.
Yeah, Michael Rooker played Yondu in Guardians.
Oh, okay.
Frank Miller is Rick Kirkman, the producer.
Yes.
God, yes.
Now, I was thinking Gilbert Godfrey.
Gilbert Godfrey is Joe Exotic.
I'm trying to think who.
What's with all these tigers?
Who would my Joe be? Did you see that Rob Lowe did a fucking like photo shoot dressed as Joe Exotic?
No.
It's kind of scary.
Oh, no.
No. It needs to be Elijah Wood.
Elijah Wood is Joe Exotic.
Yeah, just to think about it in your head for a second, seeing his little scrunchy face all Joe'd up.
I would think Joe or Elijah Wood would be one of his husbands more than Joe.
But Elijah Wood's not tall enough to be any of his husbands.
Yeah, but I mean,
you can put him in
Joe's a tiny little
stilts,
man.
Pat.
Put him on just digitally CG his legs longer, but not only that.
Oh my God! Fuck! Well, God, Jonah Hill as the campaign manager.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Get it?
Okay, bring back all the people from Cats to play the Tigers.
I was about to say, I was telling Jonathan, like all the tigers are just like this like Cats level of CG, but they have to have their buttholes, the butthole cut, release the butthole cut.
If they started singing about Jellicle Cats, you know what? I'm on Joe's side. I'm on Joe and Doc's side about killing them. Let's put them down, boys.
All right, I found my pick. Paul Walter Hauser as the fucking Chucky guy.
Who's that?
He's the guy who played Richard Jewell in that shitty Clint Eastwood movie.
Oh fuck, yeah, I can see that. God, we got a movie, boys.
Oh yeah.
Patricia Arquette as
Man.
Carol Baskin. That's my Carol Baskin.
Or you could have thicken up. What's her name? Margot Robbie, and put her as Carol.
Just
Baskin.
put her in a fat suit.
Yeah.
Use Gwyneth Paltrow's fat suit from Shallow Hal.
Hell, let's just go. Let's just make it crazy and put Eddie Murphy as Doc Angel and see what happens.
I mean, why not?
But Eddie Murphy's on the rise. He made Dolomite. He's getting his career back.
Fucking Jared Leto as all the tigers.
Jared Leto as the amputee guy.
No, that is Matthew McConaughey.
That's yeah. Should Matthew McConaughey be the blonde-haired guy?
That could work too.
Yeah,
I don't give a fuck. All right.
like True Detective, Dallas Buyers Club era McConaughey, where he's like fucking emaciated.
God damn.
Emaciated and obviously eating cocaine for breakfast.
All right.
So I know y'all had a bit that y'all wanted to do about the music videos.
Yeah, I totally forgot to watch them though.
Okay, well I just wanted to because I did go and watch a few of them.
Okay.
That the person they got to play Carol Baskin here.
Yes, I thought that was Carol.
I still can't. Like I 100% am not. This whole thing may have just been a fucking money laundering scheme.
Like they were in on it together.
Oh my god.
Yeah, like this shit's crazy because she looked exactly like her, and like even head on, she looked exactly like Carol to the point to where I was kind of like
either that or like Joe Exotic somehow spraying the cash to do like the Disney like face technology and just like put Carol's face on this lady.
Shit. There's a few other things. Go ahead.
I was just going to say the digital Carol technology.
Yeah.
And plus, how like Joe Exotic has like just a handful of like tiger shit for like a good portion of that video.
Oh god.
I'll wrap this up so I can get this shit off my hand.
Yeah, it's nasty.
And the best. So a few of these videos kind of got me fucked up too. So looking at the the thing that got me fucked up was the Sarah McLachlan style video. Do you ever wonder what love can do? That video had like the slow, like in the arms of the angels type photos scrolling past the big cats, and Joe's crying over a monkey at one point, and I don't know, it was just really weird. I really enjoyed that one. That one was Joe was trying to get money for his group on that one. But the thing that got me fucked up was, do y'all remember that song "Say Something"? And it was like by Big something.
Like say something, I'm giving up on you. That's yeah.
Yeah, that song. Say something. Okay. He has a cover of that song.
What?
Yeah, this is where it kind of gets weird for me. There's a cover that Joe did of that song, but we all know that Joe wasn't actually singing those songs.
Yeah.
So Joe had to like this song so much that he wanted to do a cover of it. So he got his singers to do a cover of Say Something so that he could make a video out of it.
Oh my god.
That's what's weird to me. Anyways, I just thought that was a really weird thing that happened. Also, throughout the entire set of videos, as Patrick knows this quite well because of podcasts and stuff like that, there's a certain level of consistency you have in titling your videos and punctuation.
Yeah.
And making sure everything looks okay. Going through some of these videos and looking at the descriptions and looking at the titles, oh my god. Like, they have no sort of punctuation, no sort of, like, consistency in how they're posted. Like, as someone who has posted the audio for this and YouTube videos and streams and everything like that over the course of 10 years, how can someone have so much fucking money to still make such trash shit and still be so popular?
I bet it's not like the same guy keep doing this. I feel like he had several people and they just got fed up and they just kind of like they just passed this like a bad penny onto the next like intern that came in.
And I'm fine with that. It's just like it just blows my mind at how like the lack of consistency there is and lack of I don't know why aren't we number one on iTunes at this point is what I'm saying. Like why are we like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how can people like him just get so much traffic, and then people who, I'm not saying we're the best podcast out there or anything like that, but how can people like him, and there are a lot of people like him who put so much, like they put a lot of effort into it, but like the little details aren't really wrapped up and they're just it's not very clean. How can people like him create stuff and it gets out there into the world and people love that shit, but then people like us who spends a lot of time on the details and, you know, ordering and making things consistent just be like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. It's just so fucking...
Well, I mean, it all comes down to he has, one, just this intangible X factor that, you know, is just not quantifiable. But also, I mean, he's just that charismatic. Like you can't take your eyes off of him once you see him, and especially once he starts talking. He's just so magnetic.
Even if you know exactly what you're looking at, it's just like this flaming pile of garbage. Like, everybody ever consumed his stuff, I kind of felt like, oh, this is the worst thing I've ever seen, but it's also the most entertaining thing I've ever seen. So let me continue to consume this. And I feel like that's why he got as big as he is, and that's why like when we've been grinding honestly for 3 years now, and then like he does all this bullshit. It's kind of like it makes a life of honest effort seem kind of pitiful.
But and one thing we're also forgetting, I mean, this guy, I mean, he didn't just kind of, I mean, like you were saying, he definitely did not do, you know, wasn't labeling or like titling his stuff correct. But I mean, he was putting in a lot of effort for many years.
Or he had other people put in effort for him.
Yeah, it was either him or he basically contracted that shit out.
It just pisses me off that like now I'm just mad thinking about the fact that all that footage that got destroyed. Could you imagine what we'd be seeing if that shit didn't get burned down?
Yeah, because like prior to them saying that it got burned down, I was thinking that most of the footage that we were seeing came from that set of stuff.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
And then they said it burned down. I was like, holy shit. So what we're seeing is everything filmed afterwards. So what the fuck was happening in those lost years of Joe fucking...
Because I kind of went down the rabbit hole a little bit. I went to the official YouTube channel. Like, I'm pretty sure those videos are going to start booming now. They had decent views, but now they're probably just going to be ridiculous. But, like, just little videos, like, and you weren't kidding. Like, there's no punctuation there whatsoever. And this is coming from somebody who's, you know, not that great with punctuation. But even I'm like, God almighty. Right. But it's like little videos, like he got into an altercation with somebody living on the park who, like, I don't know what was going on. Like, apparently, like, she had somebody living in that RV that wasn't supposed to be living there. He was trying to get an eviction notice and blah, blah, blah. He had a meeting with his staff saying, if I catch any drugs on this property, you're going to be fired. I'm going to put you in handcuffs myself. And I'm just like, aren't you, like, just feeding your husband's meth by the spoonful? Just buying, I don't know, it's just, oh god, it's crazy, this whole thing. How long have we been recording, by the way?
I mean, we're upwards of we're about 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Oh buddy.
Oh man, is there anything left to say? Have we
I created Joe Exotic, and
I've exhausted everything I have to say about Tiger King.
I created Joe Exotic in what I think he would look like as a professional wrestler in Fire Pro Wrestling world, and it's fantastic.
And it looks like Joe Exotic.
I actually had to create him twice because I don't know, because this is a very Japanese game, and when I think of export, you know, you're taking something that already exists and, you know, putting it somewhere else, right? Well, I guess something got lost in translation because when I hit export, it deleted everything that I'd done. So I had to do it all over again. So I created Joe Exotic twice in that game.
No, see what you have. It exported your Joe Exotic character from the game. It put him in real life. He's wandering around right now.
There's two of them? Oh no!
but this one, he knows how to do the sickest tiger driver you can think of.
He has like tiger fucking like Speedos on. Oh man, condoms, his and her lubricants, tiger print underwear. Everything. I think we've covered it all.
God, his gift shop was on another level.
He said that underwear was the hottest selling thing he had there, and it looked like he had raided like a fucking Adam and Eve warehouse.
No, he raided Spencer's. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
If it was more like a box fell off Spencer's truck and he picked it up after a couple of days on the side of the road.
Like DVDs with 28 songs and 16 music videos on there.
Jesus Christ.
The man was prolific in the best and the worst ways.
Like, and just in case, I'm pretty sure some of y'all are going to get urinated on, but that's all right, because just in case, we have shirts in the gift shop to say I got peed on by a tiger.
I'm sure he's probably selling the piss.
Tiger pee.
Tiger blood. Don't forget the real Tiger King, Charlie Sheen.
Oh, God.
Incoming Charlie Sheen, Joe Exotic feud.
God damn it.
Oh man, I'm tired. My brain was turned to garbage watching this, and just getting all this venom out of my system. I feel like at least 5 pounds lighter.
I
feel like I've been exercised.
Yeah,
like not actually physical exercise, but like demons are out of me now.
Yeah, like I am exhausted.
I am Joe exhausted.
Wow, you're on fire today, Cody.
With all these fucking top tier puns.
He's been cooped up and he's waiting to get all his energy out. Well, I think that's about all we have left to say. Like we're worn out, our brains are burnt out, and like we're spent. because this show, it ruined us. And so, but thank you all so much for listening. Thank you all for enduring this show and enduring everything and enduring what's going on in the world. We appreciate that so much. Be sure to follow us online on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, Google Podcasts, Overcast, Spotify, SoundCloud, like RSS feed catchers. We're there. Please rate, like, review, subscribe. It helps us get out there to get more listens, more views, and just spread the world around. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram, AYCH Podcast. You can follow us on Facebook and Letterboxd at AllYouCanHear. You can follow us on Twitch at twitch.tv/AllYouCanHear. And all our VODs from Twitch live on our YouTube at YouTube/AllYouCanHear. And you can follow me, Patrick, on Twitter and Instagram at John Luss's Name, and follow my art on Facebook at John Luss's Name Art.
You can follow me, Jonathan, on Twitter at JohnnyBoy24. That's JONNIIBOI 24. And Letterboxd at JohnOwnSon12.
I'm Canon. I'm broke as shit, and you can follow me at that Canon guy on Twitter.
You got your plugs, Cody?
Oh yeah, sorry. Hello. For some reason, you've been going in and out sometimes, and so there's like a little silence. Anywho, so I'm like, I was like, when? I hope they come back before I have to do my plug. Anywho, my name is Cody. You can follow me at CODDOC11. Follow me on Instagram and follow me on Letterboxd. I have been watching some movies in this quarantine time, so hit me up there.
I keep forgetting to plug my Letterboxd. God damn it. That Canon guy all across the board. Instagram, Letterboxd, Twitter, all that shit.
All right. Once again, thank you all for listening. Y'all take care of yourselves. We'll be talking to you soon. Goodbye.
Bye.
I saw the tiger
And the tiger saw man.